a book with an embossed cover, which I originally picked Last Violent Call. Trust again. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my March TBR. So it's time to dive back into the basket of reads. I am very excited about March. I have some plans for March. I have a couple of video ideas that I'd like to fit some stuff in for, but otherwise I'm not participating in any readathons. We have a week-long family vacation, so there's definitely going to be some of the month that I'm not reading as much. Although, I don't know, this is a family of readers, so we might actually have some reading time. But either way, I've got some plans, but nothing kind of set in stone quite yet. So I'm excited to see what the basket has in store for us as far as the next month. But before we get into that, let's take a look at how I did in February. Starting off the month, we have a book that's part of a series, and I chose The Forbidden Wish by Jessica Corey. We have a book under 200 pages, which I read the most recent Wayward Children's book, which was Mid-Laid in Parts Half Known by Shauna McGuire. We then have a 5-star prediction, which I picked Book Lovers by Emily Henry. We have a nonfiction, which I picked The Marriage Bureau, and this is by Penrose Howson. The next one was a book with an embossed cover, and I originally picked Last Violent Call by Chloe Gong, but I realized I actually needed to have read the first in her new series, so I switched that with A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber, which is a Fairlead edition, and it's got like a beautiful embossed cover. Then something from your Goodreads TBR, which was just a randomizer, and I got One to Watch, and this is by Kate Stamen, London. Read a book with more than one author. I chose the first volume of Ascender by Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen. And lastly, read a paperback. I chose Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. So, of all of the books in February, as of recording this, which I am recording it a little bit earlier than I usually do, because February, spoiler, was an amazing reading month. I only have one book that I haven't technically started yet, which is The Marriage Bureau, but I have a week left in the month. So, I'm going to start this in the next couple of days or so and get through probably most of it. Maybe, I'm not sure if I'll finish it by the end of the month, but I'll at least have started it by the end of the month. So technically, I finished everything on this list. So if I wanted to, I could take one of the prompts. I can give myself a benefit, a reward, I guess, is what we're going to do. It's the first one of the year, which is that I can just completely forget about one of the prompts in this upcoming TBR. But let's just dive into the first pick from the TBR basket. Pick number 1. Oh, a recent purchase within the last month. The first one is a recent purchase, as in one that I bought last month. So you guys will have not seen I haven't had a haul in a couple of months, but I'm going to do one a little bit later. You'll probably see it next week, of my January and February books. But I recently went to my used book warehouse and I picked up Shadow of Night by Deborah Harkness, which is the second in the Discovery of Witches series. It's actually called the All Souls series. I picked up the second and third book, but I'm plotting this one in. It's on my books up to read by the end of 2024, so I'm getting that one done. I'm got plans for this for possibly a vlog, so we'll see. But I'm really excited about this one. Like I said, it's the second book in this series. The first one I read last fall. Basically, in the first book, we have our witch who doesn't really want to have anything to do with witches. And so she finds this grimoire or book that is actually been hidden for a very long time, and she somehow summons it out of the depths of the Oxford Library. And because of that, now she has all these people after her. There are 3 different types of people besides humans. You've got witches, vampires, and demons. And so she's got some vampires that are after her and some demons that are after her. And so she teams up with this vampire who's trying to protect her. So it's been slotted as Twilight for adults, which I kind of see, but I remember enjoying the first one so much that I really want to get to the second one. So I'm picking this one up for that prompt. I should have finished my sentence first. Number 2. For instance. Browse the library and pick a random book. So the next one is one that I can't pick right now, but that is quite literally what it sounds like, is to go to my local library and just browse the shelves and pick something out, which I was planning on doing anyway because I have an idea for a video that I'm thinking about doing. So I haven't done this yet, so I'll just plop in future Kelsey here and she can go to the library and tell you what she ended up picking up. Hello, future Kelsey here. I am on the way to the library, so I thought I'd talk you through my plan, which is that I kind of have one, but I kind of don't. So I really just want to browse. Like, the whole point of this is just to walk around the library and randomly pick something. So that's my goal, is to kind of just walk around and see what's there, what's available. I haven't been to, like, physically in my library to, like, browse like this in a very long time. I usually just, like, reserve things and go pick them up that way. But I need to renew my library card, actually, and then I also have a book that I need to drop off. So it actually is going to work out pretty well. This kind of came at the perfect time. But yeah, I'm just going to walk around and kind of see what happens. But if my plan is to find a manga, that's really what I'm going for. I have an idea with some mangas later on in the month. We'll see if it happens. But my plan is to see if they have any mangas available and that I would want to, you know, pick up. So that's the plan. But if not, no worries. I'm just going to walk around and see what's there. So come along with me while I just walk around my library for funsies. Hello, I'm back home, as you can see, and I thought I would show you what I picked up. So I ended up picking up 3 different mangas. I went all over the place. It was really fun to just kind of walk around again, but very overwhelming, especially this fiction section, because it's just general fiction. They like separate the sci-fi, but that's really about it. So I just kind of walked around, but I picked up 3 things, and I think I know which one I'm going to choose for this prompt, but I thought I'd show you what I picked up. So these are all first volumes. This one is Book of Friends, Volume 1. It's a fantastical one, so I'm trying out some fantasy. Actually, I think all 3 of these are fantasy. I'm trying out some fantasy manga, again, to see if this is my thing, but he basically is this kid who can see spirits and demons that hide from the rest of humanity, but he has a gift, and he's been given this book that kind of like binds them all together or something like that. I don't know. It sounded spooky and fun, and they had a lot of volumes there. So if I like it, I can continue. I then decided to pick up the first volume of Kiki's Delivery Service. Now, I know this is an actual like book that was turned into a Ghibli film, Studio Ghibli film, that I think was then turned, I assume was then turned into a manga. They had the first 4 volumes. I don't know if that's the end of it, but I decided to pick up the first one just because I've heard good things about this, and I don't know where I could watch the movie. Like, I don't think I have access to it, and I just thought this would be like a fun way to dive in and see if this is a cute story for me. Also, it's like beautifully illustrated. It's got like the illustrations, I'm assuming, from the movie. So this is probably not the best way to read this story, but I thought I'd pick it up and just kind of see what everything is about. And the one that I think I'm going to choose for this prompt is the first volume of The Ancient Mage's Bride. And this one is one that I picked up because I recognize the cover, because Ashley from Folk Through Fiction really likes this manga, and I've heard a lot about it, and I thought I can give the first one a try and see if it's for me or not, and that's totally fine if it's not. But it's another fantastical story. It basically follows our main character, who's a penniless orphan and troubled by visions, and she is sold as a slave to an inhuman mage, and is about to start a new life filled with magic, fairies, and other beings of the fantastical nature. I do think that they become like friends and it's much more than just like slave master kind of situation, which does not sit 100% well with me, but I've heard good things and Ashley liked it. So even though a lot of we have some things that align and some things that don't, I thought I would give this one a shot just to see what it's all about. And they had the first like 4 volumes there. So this is my official pick for my TBR, but if I have my way, you'll see all of these at some point this month. But I did it. I did the thing. Number 3. Read a book by a favorite author. All right, the next one is by a favorite author, a book by a favorite author. So I am going to continue with my Throne of Glass read, which is the second one, which is Crown of Midnight by Sarah J. Maas. I am so invested in this series. You guys probably will have already seen my newest vlog series that I'm doing, which is reading hyped books. I read the first book in the series, Throne of Glass, as well as the collection of novellas, and that I have a problem, and now all I want to do is read the series. So she got me hooked. But this is the second one. So I'm trying to dive into this series. Ideally, I would love to like complete this series in the next couple of months and then get to the newest Crescent City series, the Crescent City book. I know I don't need to, but like I'm terrified of that new book. So the idea of reading this first is exciting to me. Either way, this series follows our main character, Selena Sardathian, who is an assassin. And at the beginning of Throne of Glass, she has been in prison for like a year, and she gets taken out of prison by the prince, the crown prince of the empire. Totally corrupt empire, but basically she has been chosen as one of 27, I think, 22, 20-something assassins or thieves or criminals and just general crazy people to compete for the spot of the king's champion, and she's going to win her freedom that way. So that's what the whole book, well, then there's also like a murder mystery plotline also happening in that first book. And so based on the events of the first book, we continue with this one. Very excited. Not super long. The first few in this series, I don't know if it's these newer like paperback editions or if it's just they're shorter at the beginning, but the first few books in this series are relatively short, and then we get into the craziness that is the thick, thick boys. But this is my next one that I need to read in the series, so I decided to slot it here because Sarah J. Maas is for sure a favorite author of mine. Number 4. Read a Jane Austen related book. Okay. The next one is a Jane Austen related book, and basically what that means is anything that's been inspired by Jane Austen. Either it's a retelling, it's a story about her life, it could be a nonfiction, whatever it is. So I've decided to go with The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow. I talked about this recently in a TBR Veterans video, and because of that video, I have a lot of books now at the forefront of my brain, and this was one of them. So I've decided to bite the bullet and actually do it. This was a lovely gift from Elizabeth, so thank you so much, Elizabeth, for giving me this, like, I think a couple of years ago. Finally reading it. So sorry it's taken me so long, but it's a reimagining of the middle Bennet sister, Mary's life, and her experience throughout Pride and Prejudice and beyond the story of Pride and Prejudice. So I love the idea of Mary Bennet. I think she's a fascinating character, and I've read some stories that are inspired by Mary Bennet's non-existent story and did not enjoy them very much. So I have high hopes for this one. It's relatively thick, so I don't know when I'll get to this one, but I do. It's kind of small writing too, but I do have the audiobook as well to help me out. And I just think it's going to be really good, and I need to dive into some more of my historical fiction books because I have quite a few that I need to get to, but this is one that we're going to be putting on the TBR. Number 5. Read a thriller or a mystery. The next one is a thriller or a mystery. So for this one, I'm going to choose The One by John Mars. I've had this on how many TBRs at this point? Quite a few. But I read The Measure, was it last month, I think? And it has that like sci-fi kind of, it's contemporary sci-fi a little bit, and it just was so good, and this is giving me kind of the same vibe of that. So I decided to capitalize on really enjoying that book and picking up something that was kind of similar. So this one basically follows this, I think, this DNA test that you can take, and based on your DNA, it tells you who your soulmate is. And so a bunch of different people, it follows a bunch of different people in this book, take this test and then like have the downsides of it, because it's broken up countless couples. You've got people in here who are actually married to their soulmate. You've got people in who are not married to the soulmate. You've got single people. You've got a serial killer as well. So like, there's a lot that happens in this book, but just this idea of this very like thrillery sci-fi kind of story, which is kind of what The Measure was, is giving me the vibes of this. So I hope I enjoy it. We'll see if I get to it, but I'm very interested to see how this one is going to go. Number 6. Read a cover by. All right, the next one is a cover by, which is mean because I have a lot of those. But I've decided to be nice to myself, and I plopped in the first volume of A Sign of Affection by Sue Morishita, I believe is how you pronounce it. This one is a manga that I've had for a while. I've got the first 2 actually in this manga series, and it follows a girl who is deaf and this guy who ends up translating for her, and I think they strike up a friendship because of that. So I think it's a romance between the 2 of them. I've definitely picked this one up. Yes, it sounds interesting, and I picked it up originally because the cover was so beautiful, and then I read the back and decided that it sounded really good. But I have some ideas for manga stuff going on in March, so I'm gonna squeeze this in and see if I can make this work. But it looks beautiful, and I definitely picked it up because of all of the beautiful like flowers and everything on the front and the back, and it just sounded very good. So I'm trying to get through some of my manga because I have quite a few that I haven't even touched yet, and this is one of them, so we're hopefully gonna make a dent. Number 7. Read a YA book. The next one's to read a YA. So I have slotted in Air of Fire by Sarah J. Maas for this book, which is the next one after Crown of Midnight. So as of right now, this is it. I only have these 4. So I need to pick up some more because I have a feeling I'm going to need the next 4 real soon. Now we're starting to get a little chunky. The last couple were only about maybe 400 pages, and this one is getting closer to 600. It's about 550. So I purposely haven't read the back because I don't know what's happened in the second book, so I don't want to know what's happened plot-wise here. But this is the next installment in the Throne of Glass series. All the same stuff that I said about Crown of Midnight plop in for here. I'm excited about it. This series is taking over my life. Here we go. And number 8. Read a contemporary. And the last one that I pulled from the TBR basket is to read a contemporary. So I'm going to pick up The Flatshare by Beth O'Leary. This is her debut book. I have this one and then the second book she wrote, which is The Switch, on my shelves that I need to read. Oh, as well as her newest book, which was The Wake Up Call, I think. I can't remember what it's called. I picked it up last year and then just didn't continue. It just ran out of time. But this is the one that out of all of her current books that I have not read, this sounds the most interesting to me, and it's also the one that I've heard the most criticism about, and so I'm very interested to see what my opinions are because it just sounds really good. We follow our main 2 characters, Tiffany and Leon, who share an apartment, and they have opposite time. Like one works overnight and one works during the day. So, and I don't know which one is which, but she needs a place to live. Tiffany does. She's had a breakup and she needs a place to live very fast. And so she agrees to this flat share situation where one person will use the flat during the day to sleep and one person will be using the flat during the night to sleep. And their paths never cross. So they communicate via like little post-it notes that they send each other. And it's told in both of their perspectives. And I'm just very interested to see how this is going to go. I found the audiobook from my library, so I'm really excited about this one. I just think it sounds so good. I don't know what it is about this one specifically, but this one out of all of her books sounds the best. that's it for the TBR basket. I do have one more book to add, which is a buddy read, and that is Never Love a Cowboy by Lorraine Heath. This is the second in the, I think it's called A Rogue of Texas series. The first one was called A Rogue of Texas. We read that in February. So this is the second one that we need to read in this series. It's a trilogy. Look at this beautiful, step back, stunning. This trilogy follows basically a bunch of English bred second children, illegitimate children, people like that who society looked badly on, and their fathers have sent them to America, Texas specifically, to earn their fortune, basically just to get rid of them is what they do. So in the first book, a bunch of them show up and they become ranch hands, and this series follows these three friends. This book follows Harrison, who I think goes by Harry. There's the first book, who followed Grayson. We've got Harry and we've got Kit, and it follows him and this redhead who is the salon keeper's daughter. And something happens in the first book where like they do not get off on the right foot. He assumes that she is, I think, a salon girl, and she's not, and so they do not start off very well. But the series follows all three of these guys, and each book in the series is a different romance. This one is Harry's. We really enjoyed the first one, so I'm excited to dive into this one. I forgot that I actually did pick up the first two books in the series, so I know I have a physical copy, which is very exciting. And these are kind of older. This one was written in, oh, this was only written in 2000. Just kidding. For some reason I thought it was older than that. But I'm excited to dive into this one. We've really been enjoying her stories, and this is just the next story in our buddy read to pick up. So I wanted to add that one to the list as well, because we will be physically reading that over the course of the month, because there's no audiobooks for this series, which is totally fine. So that's it. That was, I kind of, I think, sped through that just because I was really excited about these. I decided not to use my reward unless I just get, I'll let myself use it later in the month if I need to. Like, for example, if I like fly through the next two books in the Throne of Glass series and I decide that I really need to read the next one, then I'll just pick something else and switch it out. But as of right now, that's the plan. So stay tuned for April to see how it goes, because April is going to be a readathon month, and that's going to be interesting. But I've got some vlogs coming your way. Like I said, I had a really good reading month in February, so I'm kind of like sticking to that mojo, and hopefully March will continue to be an amazing reading month. But I hope that you guys enjoyed. As always, let me know if you've read any of the books that I mentioned in today's video, or something that you are planning on reading in March yourself. I would love to know. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you'll be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so go check all that out, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye! Oh, you couldn't tell, but my eye was twitching the entire time I did my outro. That was fun.